because you were the first commercial seaweed farmer, like, period, in this part of the country, right? How did you get started? What was your first farm like?
Well, actually, it's in the entire United States. I put the very first farm in for yielding food. I've been inspired by seaweed forever. I traveled overseas a lot when I was younger, and I've been involved in a lot of fisheries that I've seen go boom and bust. That was the inspiration to get into aquaculture before there's a problem. And so the inspiration for farming was my travels overseas. I saw everybody else was doing it. I went one time to buy a seaweed salad. Like, I've been turned on in the 80s and 90s to sushi. And these seaweed salads are really cool, right? And so I went to one of the local Asian markets to buy some seaweed salad, and I flipped it over. Blue, yellow, preservatives. And I went, and we have 3,500 miles of coastline and all this seaweed. That's where the inspiration for the farm came from.
Now, like any farmer, you have to get some seeds somehow to plant your seaweed. So you had just told me this little story about how you discovered how seaweed reproduces and what you figured out to do. Can you just tell us that a little?
Yeah, it was fun because, of course, this technology already existed in Asia, so we knew it existed, so we could get bits and pieces of it. And under the NOAA SBIR grant that I got to write a book, really set up the whole farm and lab systems. I worked with Professor Charlie Yarrow at the University of Connecticut, and he'd been successful in the lab getting it to propagate. So we were able to get the basics of propagation from him. But what we did, what my company did, was then scaled it up to a commercial operation. Instead of little bitty seed strings just for academic purposes, I like to call it the bridge from academia to aquademia. We moved it into the real world and scaled it up to where we could actually commercial environment.
And how does seaweed reproduce?
Well, the two different styles, we work with the laminarias, the sugar kelp that you saw earlier today that was being processed, and we also work with the fucoids. And they both they have slightly different reproductive systems. The laminaria are very friendly and helpful to us. We actually have the source tissue, which have sporangia in them, little tubes that have spores right in them. And we desiccate it, stress it out, and we induce it to release in a lab into beakers pores, and then it actually swims around at this stage. And then we'll take measured amounts of that water with the spores in it and put them in a measured settling tube and put in a measured amount along with the tube with string around it that goes inside there. They actually swim in the substrate. Then we hold them in an aquarium for a month, haul them out to the ocean, and we take a piece of line, come back to a piece of PVC with the inoculated string on it, attach that to our mooring system, and then just we pull it back, that string just spirals out around, and 6 months later, we have kelps up to 15 feet long.
This is fascinating. Now, we're not going out the boat, but it's a little windy, sea's a little angry, but I know it's right before Memorial Day now, and recreational boats out. What is the relationship between kelp farming and the rest of the eastern coastline?
Well, anytime, it's usually the fear of the unknown. Anytime you have something new, kelp is better, they're easier than some of the aquaculture just because of the way that we do it spatially. But a lot of the criteria within the state of Maine are, we have to, the responsibility, the weight is on the farmer. We have to be aware of wildlife, eagle's nests or roseate terns, anything that's protected, endangered species. We have to pick areas that aren't in regular traffic zones. We pick areas that are off the edges. You look at existing commercial fisheries and you try to pick areas like when I did my mussels and when I've done my seaweed, I look for very deep, plain mud bottoms. You get a few shedders in the summertime, but it's not heavily fished areas. And of course, the lobsters are migratory, so no matter where you are, the fishermen can still catch them on either side. So what you look at is all the mitigating factors and the criteria that the state sets. And so site selection is really important.
Now, we just talked about farming seaweed. We also were talking to us earlier about wild harvest seaweed. We have a whole bunch, kind of like a vegetable aisle or a salad bar. So why don't we come over here and talk about these different parts of the farm?
Here, we're looking at the two fucoids. Right here, we're looking at fucus, and over here, we're looking at asco, which is a longer one. These are actually in the reproductive phase right now, And you can see these berries are all swollen right now. And what they'll do is some of these are male and some of these are female. And these aren't as, they're not as friendly as the laminarias are. These will actually settle to the bottom. So nobody's farming these yet. We're gonna have to develop some technology. We'll probably be doing it this spring to get these onto the farm. But this particular seaweed, it is the greatest salad you've ever had. I mean, absolutely delicious. And you can take this and blend it in with any regular salad. It was funny, you can blanch it and it turns bright green, which is real pretty. But I've actually developed a taste for it raw, just like this. And the berries and the flat leaves, it doesn't get much better.
I'm gonna have to try some.
And it's funny because like so many things in the U.S.,
Really delicious.
like so many things in the U.S., we've been spoiled. Yeah, we only eat the big white flaky fish. We only eat the perfect looking vegetables that have been grown, induced by a lot of artificial fertilizers and such. This is all 100% natural, and it's actually regenerative in that when you harvest it, this is growing on excess nitrogen, CO2 deposition, excess phosphorus. So when you harvest it, you're actually moving some of those items back out. You know, like the CO2, you've got the carbon sequestered here, you've got nitrogen sequestered, the oxygen has been released. And when you harvest it properly, you can harvest the wild beds using what are called mariculture techniques, which is a little bit different than just straight wild harvest. You don't come in and clear cut, you don't come in and get everything. You very carefully select parts that are perfect for food. Like here you'll see some younger asco, and the asco is still, you know, it's still just finishing now. You can see this is just finished, it's fertile, it's just finished releasing. So obviously that's not going to be at food quality, but if you look a little more carefully and stuff, you will find some that is. And we haven't, in this country, we were so spoiled that we didn't look at all these new side products. And now people are realizing environmentally, health-wise, there are so many reasons, good reasons to be eating this and adding it to our diet.
Now we're up here in Kettle Cove and Bar Harbor. We're right before Memorial Day. Despite us being bundled up at the start of the summer. How much of this is available, and is it available all year or just some of the year?
This is available year-round. What we will have is normally for the food, we don't focus on the berries just because it's more variable in that. We focus on the flat leaves. So the ascophyllum has a 2-month breeding season in April and May, and it's really nice because it's releasing its spores at the same time we're harvesting our sugar kelp beds. Bringing the fucoids into the seaweed realm here in the United States will give us year-round raw material, which is, I think, the next thing this industry needs to really go through the next growth stage.
Thank you so much, Tala. I think it's time for us to go have lunch.
You're welcome, and I think I know a place where we should probably get some seaweed.